Hello? Are we are on. We're on. Woohoo! Yippee! Welcome to this week's edition of the TWIR Weekly Podcast, where we go over news and what is coming up this week. A little bit late. No questions this week because I forgot to post the question thread on the TWIR Twitter account. So, also, subtle plug, go follow TWIR on Twitter. Link is in the description. Follow me on Twitter. Link is in the description. Anyway, we are going to do some news. What is in the news today? We've got the Google Doc pulled up. We're going to start off with NASCAR wrapping up at probably the most controversial track on the schedule, Texas Motor Speedway. This is where I insert the SpongeBob clip of, "Oh, brother, this guy stinks!" But I won't because I'm lazy and I want to get this out as soon as possible because the Talladega weekend has already started. I'm recording this at 12:30 on a Saturday afternoon. In the Truck Series, Kyle Busch extended his all-time win record for the series. It's like his 62nd win. Something, the first win for Realtree as a primary sponsor in any of NASCAR's top 3 series. So good for Kyle Busch, good for Spire, good for Realtree. Going to be a lot of good drivers in that Spire truck this year. We've had guys like Kyle Busch, Connor Zilisch. Yes, I am counting Corey LaJoie as a good driver. So, moving on to Xfinity. Oh my word. The one race on the weekend that I actually miss is the best one of the weekend. But of course, the driver that I really wanted to win did not. We had Ryan Sieg was leading after the last restart. Sam Mayer was chasing him down. Sieg was running very, 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 very slow. Mayer caught him in the final turn of the final lap, and they came to the line, and Mayer just beat Sieg by 0.002 seconds. The second closest Xfinity Series finish ever. The closest finish was when Tyler Reddick beat Elliott Sadler at the 2018 Xfinity Series opener by 0.0004 seconds. Speechless. The one race I miss has possibly the greatest and saddest finish in history. Moving on to Cup. Another win streak has been broken. Chase Elliott has won his first race in 42 races. He has not won. Before this week, he had not won since Talladega Fall, the Fall Talladega race of 2022, which also is a race that I watched live. So Chase Elliott hasn't won. Before this week, he hadn't won since October of 2022, which is insane considering that he's a Cup champion. It also ends the 31-year winless streak for his primary sponsor, Hooters. Yeah, laugh all you want, but Hooters got their first win in 31 years. Their last race win was with the late, great Alan Kulwicki at Pocono in 1992. I am not counting their championship with Kulwicki as a race win. They have not won a race as a primary sponsor since 1992, which is insane. There were issues with the track again. We had a lot of cars back into the wall. We had Michael McDowell, Denny Hamlin. I think it almost happened to Kyle Busch in practice. Well, it did happen to Kyle Busch in practice, but have multiple drivers get caught out and do a backspin into the wall by a bump in the middle of turns 3 and 4 that had made itself known throughout the weekend. It seems to be new, but I don't think that SMI is really going to do much about it, considering that they're going to repave and reprofile Texas in the coming year, probably. I'm looking for an announcement, and I'm praying that they just take turns 1 and 2 and put it back to 24 degrees like 3 and 4 to even out the track, which makes the racing better for both NASCAR and for IndyCar, because please, IndyCar, come back to Texas Motor Speedway and don't schedule a street race. As much as I like street racing, we need more big ovals. But moving on, um, evening out the banking to 24 degrees is cheaper than turning it into Atlanta by about tenfold. And it's cheaper by the same amount, probably, to chop a quarter mile off of it and completely rebuild the track as a 1.25 mile Dover with a tri-oval. Um, it's just going to be, uh, it's that simple. It's the cheapest option. I know Marcus Smith, the CEO of SMI, wants to be all ambitious and create one of the greatest racing facilities on earth, but sometimes you just have to stick with what works. Pete, not every track is going to produce exciting racing. This is also the argument that I have with IndyCars at Pocono. IndyCar really should be at Pocono right now. Sure, it doesn't produce exciting side by side racing, but it's a big oval. It's an independently owned track that we can go to. It brought in a lot of fans, and Pocono wasn't built for side by side racing. It was built for wars of attrition, um, part testing, endurance, and pit strategy. That's what Pocono was built for. And I think that with the correct upgrades to Texas Motor Speedway can turn into that for NASCAR. Not every track has to be like Daytona where you have, side by side racing. That's just not going to happen. It's not reasonable. But you can turn Texas into something interesting by turning it into a track where you have, strategy wars and stuff like that. But I think there's a bright future for Texas Motor Speedway if Marcus Smith does the right thing. You can also bring in additional revenue. Like hosting, I never want Texas to have two race dates again. That was dumb. That's a waste of a spot. I love having, two Atlanta dates, two Daytona dates. That's great. But two dates for a mile and a half track just doesn't produce good racing. That's why Pocono has one date now. It wasn't. Some tracks aren't designed for that, and I think with IndyCar at Pocono, if you really want to, that's a video I need to do at some point of creating a technical solution of how IndyCar can return to Pocono, because if you look at the kart era Hanford device, you can make passing easier, which reduces driver aggression, which reduces the chance of a massive crash like we saw in 2018 with Robert Wickens and 2019 with Hunter-Reay, Rossi, Sato, Rosenquist, and Hinchcliffe. That's how we fix that track, and I think that's something that IndyCar needs to do. But I got off track a little bit anyway. Trying to fill up time here. NASCAR news. Cody Ware, after being suspended for his charges brought up against him of domestic violence by, I believe it's his ex-girlfriend. It's got to be his ex-girlfriend now. But he returns this week. He was reinstated by NASCAR in December. He will make his first start since April in Richmond last year at Talladega, driving the 15 car for his father's team. Nepotism, baby. I've really jumped on the Cody Ware hate train. I used to love Cody Ware, but mainly just because I loved Rick Ware racing. Because their 2021 and 22 schemes were beautiful. The purple Nurtec car, incredible, absolutely incredible. Grosjean's Indy car was beautiful. Cam Waters, Supercars driver, he made his first NASCAR Truck Series, first NASCAR National Series start at Martinsville. Driving the number 66 for Thor Sport. He will be back in the May race at Kansas. He will be driving the same truck. He'll be driving the 66 in place of Connor Jones. Jack Harvey. Oh, this is moving on to IndyCar now. Jack Harvey will drive the Dale Coyne number 18 at Long Beach. He will be driving 14 races in that car. Nolan Siegel will be doing 4. Actually, no. He'll be doing 3 now because Nolan Siegel has moved over to the 51. I think if the 50 Siegel might be doing the rest of his schedule in the 51, except for the 500. Depending on if Jack Harvey wants to do Toronto and What's the other race? I think it's just Toronto now that because it was Nolan Siegel was doing all the races that don't have an Indy Next companion race, so he was doing Thermal, Long Beach, the 500, in Toronto. So yeah, I think Harvey's going to be in that 18 for Toronto, and um, Siegel will be in the Rick Ware 51. The new Aero screen, which is about 25 pounds lighter. I got to see it actually. Can confirm it is incredibly light compared to the old one. Not incredibly light, but still very, very noticeable difference. It's got 3 vents in the front that should help with driver ventilation, so you don't have something like last year where Linus Lundqvist was like cooking in his car at Nashville. Um, Hopefully you don't have anything like that. It's going to be road and street course only for now. So ovals will have the newer, the older, the bulkier aero screen. Um, Other news, we don't have a lot of other news this week. Um, Rafa Matos, former IndyCar driver for I think Dragon Racing before Newman Haas stole their number. Um, he has become the winningest driver in Trans Am TA2 history. I only brought this up because he's an IndyCar driver. At 21 wins, he is now the winningest driver in the history of the class. Moving on, we have one more item here that I want to talk about before getting into what races are on this week. We have Kimi Antonelli, who is Mercedes F1 reserve driver. He tested their 2021 car. I forget at what track, but he tested that car. He's looking to replace Lewis Hamilton there, um, pending that he gets his driver's license. So to race in F1, you have to have 40 super license points. Antonelli has 40 super license points because he's kicked butt in pretty much every single series he's been in. But he doesn't have a road car driver's license in his country of citizenship, which is which is really funny considering he might get kicked out of an F1 seat because he can't drive a road car. I would actually kind of like to see that because IndyCar doesn't have that requirement. So if Kimi Antonelli fails his driver's test, he's probably coming over to IndyCar. Moving on! Races this week. NASCAR Xfinity and NASCAR Cup Series will be at Talladega Superspeedway for the Geico 500 and the AG Pro 300. ARCA Menards Series will also be there for the General Tire 200. I think that's going on right now, actually. NASCAR trucks are off this week. Indy cars at the Long Beach Street Circuit for the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. Indy Next and the USF Pro Championships have an off weekend this week. IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship is supporting IndyCar at Long Beach for their 100-minute sprint race. The FIA WEC is at the Autodromo Internazionale de Enzo Edino Ferrari in Imola for the 6 hours of Imola. And Formula One is at the Shanghai International Circuit for their first sprint weekend, which Max Verstappen has won. Wow. Shocker. But there are a couple interesting points about the Shanghai event that I want to talk to before I leave the program here. The track has been painted. Not like repaved, painted. The track officials have gone over the track in black paint or like blackish gray paint to like stick up the track. I have no clue why they did this other than they want the track to look good. But it's made the track incredibly slippery and has caught multiple people out over the course of the weekend. And not only have they been painting the track, they've painted the grass in some areas to, keep it green and keep it looking good. But that has led to its own issues because the grass in the inside of turn number 7 has caught fire twice so far this weekend. There has been a grass fire on the Shanghai International Circuit for 2 times during free practice and sprint qualifying. Hopefully it doesn't happen again But this is really weird in terms of the track managers wanting to. I don't know. They just didn't want to spend money on repaving the track, so they painted it to make it look better. So, um, yeah, that's probably the goofiest thing I've heard this week in terms of motorsport news. We have some post notes writing news. Michael McDowell has scored the pole for the Cup race at Talladega, which is really interesting considering that he had gotten like no poles in like 394 starts, and he's now got two this year. Um, it's an all Ford top three. Ford has not won a National Series race this year. Wow. Every single National Series race. That includes Xfinity and trucks, and of course the Cup Series. Ford hasn't won a single one. I don't know what's wrong with the Dark Horse because the Dark Horse looks good. It looks mean, but it's not having a return. It's not being competitive. NASCAR also denied Kyle Larson a qualifying attempt um, due to a due to an inspection failure, making an unapproved adjustment to the roof rail of the car while it was being pushed from the garage to the grid. Larson's search for a fourth consecutive pole ended before he even got on track. So, I believe that wraps up the news. Thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, of course, like the video, hit the bell so you don't miss any more videos from this channel. Should be getting some more new equipment soon, including some lapel mics, so I can go, walking through the paddock if I go to a race. Um, Follow TWIR on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Both links are down in the description. We have motorsport Discord servers that I'm usually active in. You can join down there, join the community, get in touch, and start getting insider content. But that will be it for this week's edition of the TWIR Weekly Podcast. Recorded a little late, considering that the ARCA race I think is going on right now. But I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. I will record that Pocono video for IndyCar at some point, including my plea to bring back the Hanford device, because that will make the racing about 1,000 times better and reduce driver aggression and big crashes. It worked once. There's no reason that it won't work again. So, that'll be it. Subscribe, hit the bell, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cue the music.